Hello and welcome to today's content which will be the raid boss revival since it has started today. And yeah, I literally just got off work and I had this PowerPoint ready, so here we go with it. Without further ado, let's begin. So before we get started, as you can see, I did not list all the items and stuff that you can get because it's much more easier to kind of leave that out and save time. As well as people can just look at the store and look at what they want. They're not gonna like look at the entire list and be like, oh, I want this, this, and that. They can just go to the store and be like, okay, I can focus on this one at a time, try to get it to +5, etc. So that's why I left that out. These slides and this video specifically will be focusing on the bosses and what to kind of be wary of and what to bring if you can. So yeah, let's start with Two-Headed Dragon, which is gonna be a light element, so you do want to bring dark elements overall. For attack types, if possible, Pierce is gonna be the strongest here. As you can see, Slash is at 25%. However, with slash resistance in perils or just dark types in general, even dark slash still hits this boss very hard. You still will be able to do it, especially like with a Dwayne. His resistances for elements, as you can see, is going to be 15% to everything except for dark. So dark really just has like an easy way out on this. You should be using dark units if you kind of want to clear efficiently. For the defense, it's going to be 0, so bring defense debuffs will be very nice. For spirit, it's going to be 20, meaning overall, I mean, Black-robed Helena can use her abilities. If you use Black Rose Hex to like lower the spirit first, she can deal like good significant damage, and she has a good elemental imperil, so she can be very effective here. For statuses to worry about, the Two-Headed Dragon can inflict blind, paralysis, and silence, and does have a very annoying reaction ability. It does have a 30% base chance for the statuses, so just be wary of that. Most importantly, if you do bring Helena, you do not want her to be silenced, because then that is 3 turns of you basically being disabled. It's like the same thing, so just be wary of that. Statuses to bring and or is effective is going to be slow. Even back in the day when we had the Two-Headed Dragon, we had 4-man cane rooms just for his limit break. Like everyone would use limit break just to land a slow on him. The moment you land a slow, it's kind of like you got it in the bag. You're basically going to beat the battle. But if you didn't land the slow, it was much more difficult and tougher to land. I mean, like to clear in one go. The Two-Headed Dragon is also immune to agility debuffs and steal time, so they really want to push for that slow status. So dark units overall, they're going to be very effective. Kane, ironically, even without the EX, but we do have like better Esper setups as well as vision cards just for your overall damage. Kane will be very strong here, so he can be very good. Dwayne similarly, he does have Armor Crusher as well and Rising Twilight. He can easily like lower the resistances of Two-Headed Dragon and deal significant damage. Ziza is good here for a single target, as well as she does have Lancer subjob that can deal significant pierce damage with Dark. She won't necessarily be a single carry, however she does have very good damage for that. Lamiga is here mostly because he's kind of in a similar situation. He does have a good damage here, and he can deal significant amount of damage because of his EX. So he is posted here just in general. I will say, however, Runestern and Stern themselves can deal very significant damage to his boss, mostly because Runestern can lower the boss's defense with his Hazard Crusher, or regular Stern can use his, I think it was Calamity Hazard, I believe, that can lower slash resistance by a very large amount, so everyone can start dealing like high slash damage overall. You can use different element units, especially if they have like elemental imperils and such like that, and you can just set it up well. However, much more easier setups are just going to be dark units overall. If you do not have good statuses, because the statuses from the boss is 30% base chance, even with the white marshmallow miniature, Soul of the Masa, and or like the silver and the glasses for no blind, like even for the status effects, it still has a low base chance unless your character has at least a 10% base chance before you use these items. So keep that in mind. You should try to use them even if like you don't have the resistances. It'll just help overall. Here we are at Diabolos. Diabolos is actually going to be one of the easiest ones this time around, especially if you do have a relevant light unit, just because not only was his version nerfed in global, but also because we have really strong light units out right now that literally can like easily take out Diabolos. Either way, for that, his attack resistance is -15% to slash, 10% to pierce, 10% to strike, 20% to missile, and 5% to magic attack types. So overall, as you can see, if you have a light slasher, you can definitely rip up Diabolos just fine. Additionally, he also has -15% to the light element, so yeah, you can really deal significant damage to him with light units overall. Statuses to worry about is not really going to be anything. Statuses to bring and is effective, not really going to need too much. You just have to kind of bring more raw damage and you'll be just fine. He is immune to agility debuffs as well as spirit debuffs, so you just want to bring spirit penetration because he does have a base of 20 spirit. Just bring spirit penetration and you will be just fine. Now, stuff you should bring is going to be light units that are super effective. Summer Killfate, not only does her summer, like her limit break can lower the light resistance even further. With Lupin, Rend, or even Black Panther Punish, she can literally sustain the entire fight and or chain for a very high amount of damage and literally rip Diabolos easily. Like, she'll dumpster him, it's not even funny. Elena kind of sits in the same position as that, like she can deal significant damage as well as she can chain very, very high and quickly. And then we do have Rob, which is also a very, very strong light slasher, so he will be a good addition to the party. From here, Jaden and Yuna are kind of in an awkward spot because they are effective against the boss because only 5% magic attack resistance. That means Jaden and Yuna can still do significant damage. Jaden can use his jamming thrust, and or if he does have Diamond Coat as well as he uses his missile resistance penetration ability for 3 turns, like drill shot, then the missile resistance of 20% is not going to be too relevant against him. And then same with Yuna. Yuna was actually used to solo Diabolos back then as well. Like, she can deal like pretty good damage against him. It just works. And Camilo is kind of like the last unit I would put in for like if in my top 6, just because he can deal good damage still regardless because of his element typing, so he can be useful here, especially compared to the other elements. Unfortunately, they either are lacking the amount of damage or they don't have enough chaining ability, and or like it really depends on the setup, but you don't want to be wasting turns. You kind of just want to be dealing as much damage as possible. For item equipment setup to bring, magic attack type resistance is very good, and or light bracer. If you bring a light unit, light bracer is going to be one of your best bet because while Diabolos is going to be lowering your magic attack resistance, he's not going to be lowering that that dark resistance. So yeah, light bracer, very, very effective. And here we are at Siren, known as one of the most worst and hardest bosses for raiding overall in terms of what units you could use for flexibility. So the reason why is that she has very good attack types at the time of her release. Like, really her only weakness is going to be missile, which as you can see here is going to be negative 15%, and then elemental is negative 20% to lightning. So they really wanted to push that agenda for lightning units, and back then we didn't have a large variety. It was literally either Frederica or Niv Lu in terms of like how good they will be against the boss, and the reason why it's going to be here. Statuses to worry about. 50% base chance of sleep. This was the reason why so many people were frustrated with Siren. We did not have EX for damage potential. We did not have a lot of units that are resistant to sleep, as well as being able to deal a significant amount of damage to Siren in time, because we also did not have EX. So this was really one of the most annoying bosses overall. And stuff, another thing outside of that, you're like, oh, it's 50% sleep, but if I have sleep resistance, it'll be fine. Here's another thing. They hated manual play because it was immune to steal time. Another thing, they made it so that Slash Comps had a very hard time because she was immune to slash resistance in peril. Another thing that is very annoying to have. And lastly, immune to elemental and peril. All those people with Orlandos and Sids, they cannot use specifically Divine Ruination here. They had to use other abilities like Agility Break and all that because she's immune to elemental and peril. Like, why did they put all 3 of these on a boss back then? And we barely had like a good amount of roster of units back then. It was so bad. Obviously right now we have a lot more tools, but back then it really made her one of the most annoying raid bosses overall. From here, she does have 0 defense, 0 spirit, so you're fine with those. Bringing debuffs for those will just increase your damage. Specifically, before we talk about viable units, Diablo Esper. If it is 3-star, it does have sleep resistance 25%. White Marshmallow Miniature does have 25% sleep resistance. If you combine both of these, you are able to get a 50% base chance of sleep resistance on any unit. So just keep that in mind. If you're really that desperate for like not to get cheesed by RNG, that is there. So the lightning units that are super effective to DPS and status, they were literally made for the raid. Frederica and Niv Lu. Not only does Frederica also have her EX, she'll be insanely good here mostly because of her EX, and she's immune to sleep. Niv Lu similarly immune to sleep. She does not have her EX, however, not yet. And her limit break is really good because it lowers the defense of the boss. So yeah, very, very good. Now, lightning units that are effective but can be slept if you don't have enough sleep resistance. Cloud, Charlotte, 9S, and even Velm is actually not bad here. However, if they do fall asleep, you are wasting turns. Cloud can hit very strong here, like regardless if he's using his slash attacks and or missile attacks from his ranger subdrive, just because he's made like that. You do have to consider for these 4 units, however, that they can be slept for the status resistance, so just be wary about that. And here we are at the Golem raid. So specifically for a Golem raid, you did want to bring wind units overall, as you can see, negative 10% to wind, and not bring any lightning units. And then magic attack types at negative 15%, was very effective here. You could use Pierce, however the boss did had a lot of defense, so it was like, didn't really want to do it. And the people who were really desperate were using Lucia, which was a wind gunner for her triple shot. However, we did not have diamond coat back then, and she does not have missile resistance penetration, so that 35% missile resistance was really a big like wall for her. She could not really get over it very well. Outside of that, statuses to worry about, not really much to bring, like not to worry about. And then what you want to bring, if you do want to, is going to be slow, which is going to be very good on the boss if you do land it. Other than that, Golem is immune to agility debuffs. And Golem does have a whopping 30 defense, 0 spirit. Try not to bring physical units here like 2B and Tifa. Obviously they do have good defense penetration. However, just overall, if you want to really make your life easier, bring magic units overall. Like, it doesn't even have to be wind, just bring magic units. It's just so much easier for you. So yeah, wind units are going to be super effective to DPS. Halloween Leela is going to dumpster Golem. Not only was she made for it back then as well, she literally dumpsters Golem so easily. Gargus is actually useful here to a very high degree. Like, he can actually make very good use of himself here. Baruch, I know almost never, like not many people have even know he exists right now in competitive play. However, he is very viable against Golem because he does have strong attacks if he needs to from his Kododama subjob. And similarly, Howlet, no EX yet. However, he does have Jamming Thrust, and he was a very good powerhouse against Golem as well back then. And units that are going to be super effective to DPS, to make sure we have a total of 6 units available to us. Halloween, what is it? Not Halloween. Helena, Black Rose Helena, very good here. Same with Yuna. Even just both of them on their raw damage against this boss will easily hit damage cap very quickly if they either chain and or they have a good setup. So yeah, they will be very good. Overall, even if you have a wind unit, if you have a stronger magic attack type unit, just bring them. Just make your life easier. For defensive equipment, is going to be either Titus Necklace, the Knight's Armor, and or Smart Robe. You just want to bring magic attack resistance because the Golem will focus on those damage. And yeah, we've basically come to the end of the slides. We've come to the end of the video. I hope you guys like this. Please leave a like, comment, and or subscribe. If this helped you, I really hope it does, because it's nice to see a lot of people get equipment that they missed out on, especially on people who are like, oh man, I didn't get this equipment, I don't know when it's going to come back, I really hope I can get to it. This kind of allows a lot more like leeway towards it. Also, this is kind of like prep before we have one of 2 raids coming up, which is either going to be the Holy Flan raid, which is very easy to clear, or we're going straight into the power crept very hard bosses like Aigayan, but the next one is going to be the Elk Deer Esper like raid boss, which is very difficult to defeat without wind units. So just kind of like a spoiler here, since we're talking about it on the Golem slide, try to level up your wind units if possible. And yeah, until the next video, peace out.